Welcome, weary traveler, to a quiet journey across a vast and often subtly intricate landscape of power, diplomacy, and personal destiny. The life of a daughter of Genghis Khan on a diplomatic mission. Tonight, we drift softly back to a time when empires were forged on horseback, and alliances were secured through the most personal of bonds, marriage. Allow the gentle current of these serene narratives, tales of perilous journeys, strategic unions, and the enduring echoes of cultural exchange to carry you, to calm your thoughts, and perhaps to guide you towards a tranquil stillness. Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to the year 1215 CE. The setting is the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Eurasian steppe, and you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a daughter of Genghis Khan. Your fate, and indeed the future of the burgeoning Mongol Empire, rests subtly on your shoulders as you embark on a momentous journey. You are traveling to marry a tribal Khan, a union meticulously arranged to forge a vital alliance. The first sensation that might envelop you is the constant, deep ache that settles in your bones. Your saddle aches, a persistent reminder of the countless hours spent on horseback. Imagine the subtle chafing of the hardened leather against your weary frame, the quiet stiffness that permeates your muscles with each mile traversed across the endless plains. This is a quiet, persistent struggle against the physical demands that define the very nature of your mission. The dominant sounds would be the soft thud of horse hooves on dry earth, a rhythmic cadence accompanying your journey, and the gentle creak of leather, the subtle language of your constant motion. Your daily sustenance, though practical, offers little variation or comfort. Your diet consists primarily of dried meat, often tough and salty, and perhaps fermented murray's milk. Imagine the lean taste, the quiet chewing, the humble satisfaction of food designed for preservation and endurance rather than pleasure. There would be little of the fresh, varied fare of settled lands, only the quiet understanding that this simple provision provides, the minimal energy needed to face another day on the relentless trail. But beyond these physical realities, a pervasive sense of danger accompanies your every mile. Bandits threaten your caravan. Imagine the subtle tension that permeates your entourage as you pass through desolate stretches. The quiet fear of an ambush, the constant vigilance of your armed escort, the hushed whispers about distant skirmishes. These are the unspoken anxieties that define your journey. The sounds around you might be the distant, unsettling sound of howling winds sweeping across the steppe, or the rhythmic creaking of carts loaded with supplies, occasionally punctuated by the nervous whinny of a horse. This ambient quiet carries the constant undertone of potential peril, emphasizing the precarious nature of travel in this untamed land. This segment immerses you in the sensory grind of being a Khan's daughter on such a mission. You observe the vast, empty expanse of the steppe, the endless horizons under an immense sky, lending a sense of both profound freedom and overwhelming isolation. The subtle scent of dry grass and pervasive dust would cling to your clothes and hair, a constant reminder of the environment. And beneath all this, a pervasive, quiet tension, the pressure to secure peace through your marriage. Imagine the immense weight of this responsibility, knowing that your personal union is a political act, a crucial link in a chain of alliances designed to expand and stabilize the mighty Mongol Empire. This pressure is not spoken, but felt, a profound imperial expectation placed upon your quiet personal choice, emphasizing your role as a living embodiment of diplomacy. To exist in such a state, to navigate daily life within this demanding, dangerous, and geopolitically charged environment, required immense, quiet resolve. It demanded a deep, often unspoken, understanding of both personal sacrifice and grand imperial strategy, a quiet resilience in the face of constant physical discomfort and looming threats, and a quiet, almost meditative, acceptance of your crucial role in shaping a burgeoning empire. The rhythm of your days would be a constant, subtle dance of personal endurance and broader political destiny, a silent testament to the gentle yet profound power of marriage in binding together disparate, often warring factions. From the physical grind of the journey and the profound pressure of your mission, let us now gently descend deeper into the heart of the diplomatic marriage itself. The perils of diplomatic marriage. These unions were not merely personal celebrations. They were intricate political maneuvers, fraught with the quiet tensions of warring factions and the unpredictable currents of tribal loyalties. This segment invites you to observe the delicate negotiations, the spiritual blessings, and the ever-present dangers that define these strategic alliances forged on the vast steppe. Imagine arriving at the encampment of the tribal khan you are to marry. The air would feel different here, perhaps thick with the scent of animal hides and the lingering aroma of cooking fires. You would immediately begin to negotiate with foreign envoys, not just about the terms of your marriage, but about the broader alliance it represents. Imagine the hushed conversations in a felt tent, the careful choice of words, the subtle reading of intentions behind polite smiles. The sounds might be the low, guttural tones of different languages being translated, or the quiet scratch of a scribe's stylus recording agreements. These were delicate discussions where a single misspoken word could unravel months of strategic planning. A crucial part of your dowry would be the presentation of valuable goods. You would offer furs as dowry, perhaps bundles of sable or ermine, meticulously prepared and presented as a symbol of your family's wealth and generosity. Imagine the soft, luxurious feel of the pelts, their quiet shimmer in the flickering lamplight. This act was more than just a transfer of wealth. It was a powerful gesture of goodwill and a tangible commitment to the alliance. The subtle rustle of the furs, the quiet appreciation from the recipients, would mark this significant exchange. Beyond the material, the spiritual realm played a vital role in securing success. You would pray to Tengri for success, the eternal blue sky, the supreme deity of the Mongols. Imagine standing quietly under the vast expanse of the steppe sky, your gaze directed upwards, your silent plea for divine favor. Shamanistic practices would also be intertwined with these unions, seeking blessings and omens. The subtle tinkle of small bells on a shaman's costume, the rhythmic beat of a small drum, and the low, guttural chanting would accompany ceremonies designed to secure spiritual protection for the alliance. However, beneath the negotiations and blessings, a constant threat lingered. Rival tribes plot against you. Imagine the pervasive awareness of shifting loyalties, the quiet whispers of rebellion from disaffected factions, or the chilling intelligence of raids launched by opposing groups. The vastness of the steppe meant that control was never absolute, and alliances were often fragile. The distant howl of wolves, or the unsettling whinny of a nervous horse in the night, could serve as quiet reminders of the ever-present dangers from both human and natural forces. The celebrations themselves would be a blend of solemnity and feasting. You would partake in ceremonial feasts, where large quantities of meat, roasted over open fires, and abundant Mari's milk would be consumed. Imagine the rich, smoky aroma of the cooking, the warmth of the communal fires, and the quiet sounds of communal eating and drinking. These feasts were not just for sustenance. They were vital for bonding, for demonstrating hospitality, and for solidifying the alliance through shared experience. But through it all, there was the profound tension of uniting warring factions. Your marriage was a fragile bridge, constantly threatened by the deep-seated animosities and historical grievances between tribes. Imagine the quiet effort to maintain composure, to project confidence, to mediate subtle disagreements during gatherings. Your presence as a daughter of Genghis Khan was a powerful symbol, yet its effectiveness depended on constant vigilance and a keen understanding of the complex political currents. To navigate such perilous diplomatic marriages, to embody such a critical role, required immense, quiet strength and subtle diplomacy. It demanded a constant awareness of both visible and unseen dangers, a careful negotiation of personal will with imperial objectives, and a quiet, almost spiritual dedication to the success of the mission. The gentle tinkle of shaman bells, the rich scent of myrrh smoke, and the pervasive, quiet tension of uniting disparate forces. These are the calming echoes of profound historical moments, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet power of strategic unions and shaping the course of empires. From the quiet, intricate negotiations and spiritual blessings that defined diplomatic marriages, let us now gently ascend to a more specific and profoundly influential narrative, the remarkable story of Alakai Beki, a real daughter of the formidable Genghis Khan. Her life was a testament to the strategic power wielded by Mongol princesses, whose marriages were instrumental in solidifying and expanding the nascent empire. This narrative traces her significant diplomatic mission, her enduring influence, and the quiet legacy she forged, told in a soothing tone that highlights her critical role in Mongol expansion. Imagine Alakai Beki, born into the heart of the Mongol royal family, her early life steeped in the traditions of the steppe, and the growing ambition of her legendary father. While often overlooked in historical accounts focused solely on male conquests, the daughters of Genghis Khan were vital instruments of imperial policy, often serving as what some historians quietly refer to as princess governors. Alakai Beki was one such figure, destined for a role far beyond that of a traditional bride. Her strategic marriage was arranged with an Alki-Tatar leader, a chieftain whose tribe held a key position within the larger Mongol sphere. Imagine the political calculations behind this union, a deliberate effort to secure the loyalty of a powerful group, to integrate their strength into the growing Mongol might, and to extend direct control over crucial territories. This was not a personal choice in the modern sense, but a profound act of statecraft, her very person becoming a living bond of alliance. The sounds of such an arrangement would be hushed and formal, the measured tones of negotiators in a tented meeting, the soft clink of a ceremonial cup being raised in agreement. Alakai Beki's diplomatic mission extended far beyond the wedding day itself. After her marriage, she was often entrusted with considerable authority, effectively administering the territory of her husband's tribe on behalf of the greater Mongol Empire. Imagine her in a felt tent, a ger, acting as a center of power, mediating disputes between clans, overseeing the collection of taxes or tribute, and ensuring the smooth flow of resources back to the central Mongol court. Her days would be filled with the quiet weight of governance, her voice carrying the authority of her father, yet also needing the subtle wisdom to navigate local customs and grievances. The sounds would be the soft creak of the ger's felt door opening and closing, the quiet murmur of petitioners seeking justice, and the rhythmic swish of horsetails outside, a constant reminder of the nomadic life that formed the empire's backbone. Her influence was significant and quietly pervasive. She was not merely a figurehead. She was an active participant in her husband's administration and often acted independently. She would advise her husband, sometimes even directly manage military affairs in his absence, and ensure that their region contributed effectively to the broader Mongol expansion. Imagine her sitting calmly, listening intently to reports from distant outposts, her strategic mind constantly at work, weighing options and issuing directives. Her role was a testament to the remarkable capabilities of Mongol women of the elite class, who often held considerable power and agency within their society. The legacy of Alakai Beki and others like her was profound. Her efforts directly strengthened the empire, consolidating Mongol control over diverse peoples and vast territories. Her diplomatic skill and administrative acumen contributed significantly to the stability that allowed Genghis Khan's conquests to endure and thrive. She was a living symbol of imperial reach, binding distant lands and disparate peoples together through familial ties. Her long and influential life, marked by strategic marriages and effective governance, quietly underlines the often unseen roles played by women in the shaping of one of the world's largest empires. This narrative explores how personal journeys, when interwoven with imperial ambition, can profoundly influence the course of history. The gentle swish of horsetails in the vast steppe, the subtle hum of administration within a nomadic air, and the quiet strength of a daughter forging alliances, these are the calming echoes of a remarkable life, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet power of diplomacy and strategic leadership in shaping the ancient world. From the profound human story of Alakai Beki and her impactful diplomacy, let us now gently shift our focus to a more tangible and enigmatic aspect of these vast imperial endeavors, the mystery of the diplomatic relics. These surviving artifacts, scattered across the immense plains that once witnessed the passage of countless Mongol caravans, offer a quiet puzzle hinting at the intricate networks of power, trust, and alliance that underpin the empire's expansion. This segment invites you on a meditative dive into the material culture of Mongol diplomacy, exploring the subtle clues left behind by long-vanished journeys. Imagine an archaeologist, many centuries later, meticulously working on a windswept plateau, a place where no modern city stands, only the echoes of distant hooves. The quiet brush of a trowel against compacted earth, the careful sifting of soil, might reveal something unexpected, a fragment of intricately worked metal, or a piece of fine foreign pottery. This leads us to the quiet question: what do surviving Mongol caravan artifacts reveal about diplomatic marriages? The very existence of such physical remnants, often discovered in remote and ephemeral campsites, rather than grand settlements, sparks a quiet curiosity. The nomadic nature of the Mongols meant their presence often left lighter footprints on the land, making archaeological discovery a patient and challenging endeavor. Yet certain objects endure, silent witnesses to complex interactions. Imagine the painstaking process of uncovering these items, cleaning away centuries of grime and piecing together their stories. The cool, heavy feel of an ancient artifact, a tangible link, would connect you to a forgotten past. Among the most significant finds are often bronze seals. These were not merely decorative items. They were potent symbols of authority and the instruments used to authenticate official documents, treaties, and letters exchanged between the great khans and tribal leaders or foreign rulers. Imagine a seal, perhaps with a powerful beast motif or a beautifully rendered script in a language now rare. The cool, smooth surface of the bronze, the intricate, sharp lines of its carving would speak of its importance. Their presence in a caravan route or a diplomatic site quietly signifies the exchange of formal agreements, perhaps even the marriage contracts themselves, binding alliances with the weight of imperial power. Another enduring legacy comes in the form of silk banners or fragments of rich textiles. These vibrant, yet now faded, remnants offer glimpses into the visual grandeur of these diplomatic missions. Imagine a silk banner, once billowing majestically in the steppe wind, proclaiming the status and identity of the approaching caravan. The delicate yet strong weave of the silk, the subtle sheen of its faded colors, might still hint at the elaborate patterns that once adorned them. These banners often served as crucial symbols of prestige, identifying the Khan's emissaries and often given as lavish gifts to seal alliances, underscoring the wealth and might of the Mongol court. The soft rustle of what little remains would be a whisper from a distant procession. Other potential finds might include specialized horse trappings, unique ceramic vessels carried from distant lands, or fragments of specialized wagons designed for the long journeys. These seemingly mundane objects, when carefully interpreted, provide a quiet testament to the logistics, the multicultural composition, and the vast scale of these diplomatic caravans. These artifacts prompt profound theories about their role in binding alliances. Were the seals direct instruments for ratifying marriage treaties? Were the banners and rich silks part of the dowry, or ceremonial gifts exchanged during the wedding feast to solidify the bond? Their material value and symbolic weight suggest they were integral to the process of mutual commitment, acting as silent, enduring proof of promises made. They stand as quiet reminders that behind the grand narratives of conquest, there were meticulous acts of diplomacy, made tangible and lasting by these carefully crafted objects. The lives of these ancient Mongol diplomats and princesses, though often spent in motion across vast distances, were rich with material culture that held deep meaning and played critical roles in their grand imperial strategies. The gentle brush of an archaeologist uncovering a hidden relic, the smooth, cool touch of ancient bronze or silk, and the profound, silent questions whispered by these enduring artifacts. These are the calming echoes of deep diplomatic practices and the enduring mysteries of the ancient world, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet power of tangible objects in forging intangible bonds. From the quiet revelations of diplomatic relics that mark past agreements, let us now gently shift our focus to a different, yet equally vital class of individuals within the Mongol diplomatic machinery, the Mongol envoys. While Genghis Khan's daughters served as living embodiments of alliances through marriage, these seasoned diplomats were the eyes, ears, and voices of the great Khan, tirelessly navigating the complex political landscape of the vast empire. This segment invites you to explore the influential, yet often grueling world of Mongol diplomacy, contrasting their missions with those of the imperial princesses. Imagine yourself not as a royal bride, but as a grizzled, experienced envoy, perhaps a former military commander or a trusted administrator, entrusted with delicate negotiations. Your setting would often be a tented camp, a practical and temporary settlement of felt gears pitched on the open steppe, bustling with the quiet efficiency of a mobile court. The air here might carry the subtle scent of wood smoke, the tangy aroma of fermented rice milk, and the earthy smell of countless horses. The sounds would be precise and measured, the soft flicker of a small fire at the center of your tent, the distant whinny of horses, and the hushed discussions of your retinue preparing for the next day's journey or the next round of talks. Your primary duty would be to negotiate treaties, often with newly conquered peoples or wavering allies. Imagine the intense quiet of a negotiation session, perhaps sharing a meal with a local chieftain. You would employ a blend of shrewdness, patience, and a deep understanding of local customs and power dynamics. The subtle nuances of translation, the careful observation of body language, and the precise articulation of the Khan's demands and promises would be crucial. The clinking of small communal cups as Mori's milk was shared, a gesture of hospitality and trust, would underscore these vital discussions. Life in the camp, though often austere, had its own rhythm. You would frequently feast on Mori's milk, a staple of the Mongol diet known as kumi, often fermented to provide both sustenance and a mild alcoholic content. Imagine the slightly sour, effervescent taste, the quiet warmth it brought. These communal meals, shared with your entourage and sometimes with the leaders you were negotiating with, were more than just sustenance. They were vital social rituals, fostering bonds and demonstrating the Khan's hospitality and generosity. The quiet sounds of slurping and contented sighs would fill the tent. However, the world of the Mongol envoy was fraught with constant peril. Tribal betrayals were a persistent threat. Imagine receiving hushed intelligence reports of a chieftain secretly plotting rebellion, or nominal allies suddenly shifting allegiance to a rival power. The tension would be palpable, a quiet undercurrent to every negotiation. The need for constant vigilance, for gathering accurate intelligence, and for discerning the subtle signs of disloyalty demanded an unwavering resolve. A miscalculation could lead to open rebellion, jeopardizing the Khan's wider objectives. Furthermore, the very nature of your work demanded long journeys across the vastness of the Mongol Empire and beyond. Imagine the ceaseless movement, day after day, week after week, through scorching deserts and freezing mountains, across endless grasslands. The constant physical toll, the subtle weariness that settled deep in your bones, the quiet companionship of your travel group against the immense isolation of the steppe. These were defining characteristics of your existence. The quiet whine of the wind, the rhythmic thud of horse hooves, would become the constant soundtrack to your enduring resolve. These envoys, though often nameless in the grand annals of history, played an influential role. Their diplomatic efforts, arduous and often dangerous, directly contributed to the empire's expansion and its impressive ability to integrate diverse peoples. They were the essential threads of communication and control, securing territories, managing vassal states, and relaying vital intelligence back to the Great Khan's court. This segment explores the complex, often solitary, world of the Mongol envoy, a life both profoundly influential in imperial strategy and immensely challenging in its daily realities. From the careful flicker of a tent fire and the steady clinking of communal cups to the profound, silent weight of tribal betrayals and the endless rhythm of the journey, these are the calming echoes of a unique diplomatic experience, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet resilience and strategic brilliance required to forge an empire across vast and varied lands. From the influential yet grueling journeys of Mongol envoys and their vital negotiations, let us now gently shift our focus to the enduring legacy of these diplomatic missions and strategic marriages, the remarkable cultural crossroads that emerged across the vast Mongol Empire. These unions and administrative efforts were not merely about political alliances. They fostered a profound blending of traditions, creating unique hybrid cultures within the newly formed khanates. This segment invites you to contemplate the quiet evolution of shared ideas, artistic expressions, and daily practices that flowed across the Eurasian landmass, shaping a new kind of world. Imagine yourself not on the open steppe, but within a bustling, yet subtly harmonious, city that flourished under Mongol rule, perhaps in Persia, Central Asia, or even China. The air would feel different here, carrying the subtle scent of exotic spices, the quiet murmur of multiple languages mingling in the streets, and perhaps the faint aroma of new culinary creations. The sounds would be precise and measured, the soft tinkle of small wind chimes hanging from a merchant's stall, the distant call to prayer from the newly built mosque, or the quiet clatter of a craftsman's tools, working with new designs. This environment was a testament to the quiet yet profound synthesis of cultures. The influx of Mongol rulers, and particularly influence of their high-ranking princesses who often governed vast territories, led to a quiet exchange of ideas, technologies, and artistic styles. This leads us to consider the long-term impact. How did Mongol traditions blend with those of the conquered or allied peoples, and what unique cultural artifacts or practices emerged? It was not always a forceful imposition, but often a gradual process of adaptation and mutual influence. Consider the subtle ways this cultural blending manifested. In terms of administrative practices, while Mongol military organization was imposed, local bureaucratic methods were often adopted or refined, drawing on the expertise of established urban societies. Imagine the quiet, careful integration of different systems of taxation or record-keeping, a pragmatic blending for efficient governance. In artistic motifs, new patterns emerged. Mongol animal designs might appear on Persian ceramics, while Chinese landscape painting techniques could influence Central Asian miniatures. The quiet beauty of these new forms speaks of a shared aesthetic. Imagine tracing the delicate lines of a dragon intertwined with a floral pattern, a silent conversation between two distinct artistic heritages. Religious tolerance, a hallmark of the Mongol Empire, also fostered unique cultural environments. In places like the Ilkhanate or the Golden Horde, different faiths, Islam, Nestorian Christianity, Buddhism, and indigenous shamanism, coexisted, subtly influencing each other. Imagine the quiet reverence in different houses of worship, the subtle exchange of philosophical ideas, or the gradual adoption of certain spiritual symbols across faiths. This peaceful coexistence was often a direct result of the pragmatic policies of the ruling Mongol elite, including the daughters of Genghis Khan, who often had diverse religious backgrounds in their own entourages. Even in daily life, subtle changes occurred. Culinary exchanges might introduce new ingredients or cooking methods across vast distances, enriching the local palates. Imagine the blending of steppe ingredients with the spices of the Middle East or the grains of China, creating new flavors that quietly delighted. The very movement of people, facilitated by the stability brought by Mongol rule, allowed for this quiet, organic exchange. The result was the creation of unique, hybrid cultures in the various Khanates that succeeded the initial Mongol Empire. The Yuan dynasty in China, the Ilkhanate in Persia, and the Golden Horde in the West each developed distinct cultural identities, shaped by their Mongol foundations, yet deeply infused with the traditions of their indigenous populations. These Khanates, often founded or maintained through strategic alliances forged by diplomatic marriages, became vibrant centers of cultural innovation and synthesis. The quiet echo of a new architectural style, the subtle melody of a blended musical tradition, or the gentle aroma of a shared meal, these were the tangible, calming consequences of this grand historical phenomenon. This segment explores the quiet, long-term impact of Mongol diplomatic missions and marriages, emphasizing how they fostered a profound and often beautiful cultural synthesis across vast empires. The gentle tinkle of wind chimes, the soft murmur of diverse voices in a market, and the profound, silent interweaving of different traditions, these are the calming echoes of cultural evolution, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet flow of ideas and customs that shape our shared human history. So, we've witnessed the profound complexities that define this era, its vast imperial ambition and its intimate personal sacrifices, its grand historical movements and its quiet daily struggles, its rigid structures and its flexible adaptations. It is a world both immense and deeply personal, a testament to the intricate and often harmonious nature of human connection and societal evolution within a diverse historical tapestry. What if I tell you that the iconic image of a cowboy galloping across sun-drenched plains often hides a much colder, quieter reality? Tonight, we'll trade the dramatic sunsets for the bite of icy winds and the roaring campfires for the gentle creak of a frozen saddle, as we truly settle into the solitary, enduring life of an 1880s Montana cowboy. The air bites with a keen, dry chill, and a thin layer of hoarfrost glitters on the sparse winter grass. The valleys stretch for miles, often winding between low, snow-covered hills. The cattle, hardy longhorns, move slowly, their shaggy coats dusted with frost. You carry strips of dried jerky, tough and salty, which you chew slowly, extracting every bit of protein. A tin cup of coffee, brewed over a meager sagebrush fire, is a precious luxury, its warmth briefly spreading through your chilled hands and down your throat. The taste is bitter, often smoky, but utterly vital. There are no fresh fruits or vegetables for weeks on end, only the basic provisions that can withstand long journeys and harsh conditions. The smell of wood smoke clinging to your clothes is a familiar, comforting scent. You ride alongside them, your horse's hooves crunching softly on the frozen ground. The repetitive sound of their lowing, the creak of your saddle, and the steady beat of your horse's hooves are the constant companions of your days. The sun, though bright, offers little warmth, and the wind, when it picks up, carries with it an unrelenting bite that seems to penetrate every layer of your clothing. The sky above is a vast, unblemished blue, but the distant mountains are already dusted with snow, promising colder days to come. You clench and unclench them, trying to coax feeling back, but the sensation is often dull and distant. Your nose might ache, and the tips of your ears tingle with a persistent chill. You learn to move your body in subtle ways to generate warmth, shifting in the saddle, rubbing your hands together, but the cold is a battle you are always fighting. The taste of the air is crisp, almost metallic, and when you take a deep breath, it stings your lungs. You are a cowboy, a solitary figure on horseback, your breath misting in the frigid air as you survey the herd. Imagine yourself standing on the open range of Montana in the 1880s. Your primary task, day in and day out, is herding cattle through icy valleys. The sheer scale of the landscape is humbling. The cold is a constant, tangible presence. Your fingers, despite thick leather gloves, quickly grow numb from frost. Meals are simple, functional affairs designed for sustenance on the move. When night falls, the cold intensifies, and the stars appear with an astonishing clarity in the vast, unpolluted sky. Sleep, when it comes, is often fitful. You typically sleep in a drafty bunkhouse, a rough-hewn structure of logs or planks, often with chinks in the walls that allow the wind to whistle through. The whisper of snow as your horse pushes through a drift, the faint crackle of ice underfoot, the way the light reflects off a pristine blanket of white, creating an almost blinding glare. You learn to read the subtle signs of the weather, the gathering clouds, the sudden drop in temperature, the shifting wind, for your very survival depends on it. A sudden snowstorm can engulf the landscape in minutes, disorienting both man and beast, leading to frostbite, starvation, and death. It is a life shaped by the raw power of the land, by relentless cold, and by the constant vigilance required for survival. It is a solitary existence marked by endurance and a quiet determination far removed from the comforts of a settled world. You envision the swirling light, the howling wind, the loss of all visibility, and the desperate struggle to keep the herd from scattering. Another, more human, fear is that of rustlers. Bands of outlaws roam the range, preying on isolated herds. The threat of violence, of a sudden confrontation in the vast emptiness, is a palpable tension that you carry with you. Always aware of your surroundings, your hand never far from the worn grip of your revolver. The air inside is still frigid, and the thin blankets offer only a meager defense against the biting cold. Days merge into weeks, marked by the rising and setting of the sun, the slow progress of the herd, and the endless miles beneath your horse's hooves. Your muscles ache with a persistent, dull throb, and your mind often drifts into a quiet, almost meditative state born of repetitive motion and constant vigilance. You pull your hat low, burrow into your bedroll, and try to ignore the constant shiver that runs through your body. The sounds are simple: the groan of settling timber, the distant howl of a coyote, or the soft breathing of your fellow cowboys. The ground beneath you is hard, and the exhaustion of the day's ride pulls at your muscles, sometimes making it difficult to find a comfortable position. The sensory chill of snowy trails is an ever-present reality. The exhaustion of long drives becomes a deeply ingrained feeling. Beneath this physical toll, there is also a constant, quiet fear. The frontier is a place of unpredictable dangers. The most immediate is the blizzard. This is the quiet, challenging rhythm of life as a Montana cowboy. As the quiet echoes of a cowboy's grueling daily life fade into the vast Montana night, let us now turn our gaze to a figure whose ambition and resolve helped to shape this formidable landscape, Granville Stewart. Known reverently as Mr. Montana Stewart, a story is one deeply intertwined with the development of the territory in the latter half of the 19th century, particularly during the turbulent 1880s, a period that saw the dramatic expansion of the cattle industry. Imagine a man of quiet determination, his face weathered by sun and wind, his eyes holding the steady gaze of someone who has seen much and overcome more. Granville Stewart arrived in Montana early, in the 1850s, drawn by the allure of gold. Picture the seemingly endless sea of grass, perfect for grazing thousands upon thousands of cattle. This was a grand vision, a gamble on the sheer scale of the land. But this ambition came with immense challenges. They would take matters into their own hands. This led to what became known as the Stewart Stranglers, or the Vigilante Committees of 1884. Imagine the hushed conversations around campfires, the quiet, somber resolve as men, pushed to their limits, decided to enforce their own form of justice. This was not a cheerful undertaking, but a perceived necessity born of desperation. The actions of these vigilantes were swift and uncompromising. They hunted down suspected rustlers, holding impromptu trials, and often carrying out summary executions. But his destiny, and ultimately his lasting impact, lay not in the shimmering dust of the placer mines, but in the boundless potential of the open range. He was among the very first to truly grasp the potential for cattle ranching in the vast, seemingly empty spaces of Montana. Stewart, along with his brothers, established one of the territory's earliest and most successful cattle operations, the DHS Ranch in the Judith Basin. The most insidious threat to the burgeoning cattle empires was the scourge of rustlers. These were not merely petty thieves. They were often organized gangs, preying on the isolated herds, rebranding stolen cattle, and driving them to distant markets. Their actions threatened the very foundation of the ranching industry, undermining property rights and challenging the fragile order of the frontier. For ranchers like Stewart, these rustlers represented a direct assault on their livelihoods and the fruits of their years of tireless effort. Faced with this growing threat, and with law enforcement often sparse or ineffective in the sprawling territory, Stewart, along with other prominent ranchers, made a grim decision. This period was brutal, a harsh chapter in Montana's history. While controversial today, at the time, many believed it was the only way to establish a semblance of order and protect the nascent industry. Stewart's involvement solidified his reputation as a man who would do what was necessary, a formidable figure in a land that demanded resilience. His struggle against rustlers, while employing methods that are unsettling to modern sensibilities, contributed to the eventual establishment of more formal law and order on the frontier. His experiences with the brutal winters highlighted the inherent risks and led to innovations in ranching. He wasn't just a rancher. He was a chronicler, a diarist, and later a diplomat, providing invaluable insights into the early history of the territory. His unwavering commitment to the protection of his property and the future of ranching shaped the perception of him as a stern, unyielding, but ultimately vital force for order in a chaotic land. Beyond the human element, Granville Stewart also contended with the brutal, unpredictable forces of nature, particularly the harsh Montana winters. The hard winter of 1886 to 87 stands out as a devastating blow to the open-range cattle industry. Imagine the relentless cold, the blizzards that buried the land under feet of snow, the temperatures plummeting far below zero. Cattle, left to fend for themselves on the open range, succumbed by the thousands. The sheer scale of the loss was catastrophic, wiping out entire fortunes and forcing a fundamental shift in ranching practices, moving away from entirely open, grazing towards more managed approaches. Stewart, despite his foresight and hardiness, suffered immense losses during this period, a testament to the raw power of the land he sought to tame. Granville Stewart's legacy is complex but undeniable. He was a pioneer who helped lay the groundwork for Montana's primary industry. His tale is one of survival, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of an empire in a wild land. It's a story of power not just over men, but over the forces of nature, all delivered to you now in a soothing tone, inviting you to contemplate the quiet yet profound impact of individuals on the vast canvas of history. As the echoes of Granville Stewart's determined struggle against rustlers and blizzards gently fade, let us now embark on a quiet journey to places where time seems to have paused, where the whispers of the past are carried on the wind through empty windows and creaking doors. Before you stands a cluster of weathered wooden buildings, a saloon, a general store, a hotel, perhaps even a gallows, all standing as spectral sentinels to a bygone era. Benak, in particular, was Montana's first territorial capital, a place of intense activity where prospectors, cowboys, merchants, and outlaws mingled in a raw, untamed environment. Picture the sounds that once filled these streets: the clatter of horses' hooves, the raucous laughter from saloons, the clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the urgent shouts of men. Now, only the wind provides a soundtrack. These are not merely abandoned structures. They are frozen moments in time, leaving us to ponder the quiet mysteries of why their vibrant life suddenly drained away. We are speaking, of course, of the ghost towns of Montana, enigmatic remnants of a frontier boom, places like the famously preserved town of Benak. Imagine a landscape where silence reigns, broken only by the rustle of dry grass or the distant call of a hawk. Many of these towns, including Benak, began as bustling cowboy camps or mining settlements, springing up almost overnight wherever gold was discovered or where cattle ranches needed central hubs. The central enigma of these ghost towns is their abandonment. Why did the life force drain from them? Was it simply that the gold ran out, or were there other, more complex factors at play? For many, the answer lies in the harsh economic realities of the frontier. Were they indeed abandoned due to failed ranches, depleted mines, or the volatile nature of a boom and bust economy? Consider the specific case of mining towns. The initial discovery of gold or silver would draw thousands, creating a flurry of activity and rapid construction. But mines eventually played out. The rich veins of ore dwindled, making extraction unprofitable. The brutal winters we discussed earlier, such as the catastrophic winter of 1886 to 87, devastated herds and ruined ranchers, forcing them to abandon their operations. Imagine the quiet, methodical work of archaeologists sifting through layers of dust and debris. They might uncover rusted tools, broken pottery shards, discarded bottles, and remnants of clothing. They are monuments to human ambition, resilience, and ultimately, the impermanence of even the most fervent dreams. We are not seeking grand revelations, but rather allowing the stillness of these abandoned places to work its hypnotic effect, drawing our minds into a deeper understanding of the ebb and flow of human endeavor on a vast and untamed frontier. They spark curiosity about the fading West, inviting us to ponder the countless untold stories locked within their decaying walls. Who were the men and women who lived here? What were their hopes, their fears, their daily routines? Each artifact, no matter how small, tells a story. A worn boot, a bent spoon, a child's toy. These mundane objects speak volumes about the daily struggles, the small comforts, and the aspirations of the people who once called these places home. These finds allow us to piece together the routines of frontier life, the items they valued, and the challenges they faced. Changes in cattle prices, overgrazing leading to barren land, or the extension of railroads that bypass certain areas could also lead to economic decline and eventual desertion. We see evidence of community formation, even in the most remote outposts, the remnants of a church, a schoolhouse, a Masonic lodge. These structures suggest that even in the pursuit of wealth and in the face of harsh conditions, people sought to recreate familiar social structures and find solace in collective identity. The saloon, often the most prominent building, speaks to the social hub it once was, a place for camaraderie, entertainment, and sometimes conflict. When the source of wealth dried up, the people who had come seeking fortune simply packed what they could and moved on, leaving their hastily built settlements to the mercy of the elements. For towns tied to the cattle industry, like some of the smaller outposts, failure could stem from different sources. Delving into archaeological finds within these ghost towns offers tantalizing clues about the lives once lived here. Exploring the cultural practices around frontier life within these abandoned settlements provides further insight. The silence that now envelops these towns allows for a different kind of contemplation. This segment invites a quiet reflection, a gentle journey into the heart of disappearance. Having wandered through the desolate beauty of Montana's ghost towns, where the echoes of hardship and ambition still linger, let us now transition, with a measured pace, to a different facet of the frontier experience, the rugged luxury of a Montana cattle king's lodge. Imagine yourself stepping out of the biting wind of the open range and into a place of warmth, substance, and quiet power, perhaps in the late 1880s, when the great cattle empires were at their zenith. This is not the drafty bunkhouse of the working cowboy. This is a formidable log lodge, built to withstand the harshest winters and to project an image of success and permanence. The cattle king's day might begin with a substantial breakfast, prepared by a cook, rather than a hurried bite of jerky. His mornings might be spent in a comfortable study, surrounded by books, maps, and ledgers, overseeing the vast operations of his ranch. The floor might be covered with thick, plush fur rugs, perhaps from bear or bison, providing a deep, soft cushion underfoot and adding to the rustic opulence. Heavy, handcrafted wooden furniture, upholstered in durable leather, would invite repose. Mounted trophies of elk, deer, and perhaps even a grizzly bear would adorn the walls, silent testaments to the king's prowess as a hunter and his dominion over the wild lands. Picture massive, hand-hewn logs forming the walls, their rough texture softened by years of careful tending. As you step inside, the immediate sensation is one of enveloping warmth, perhaps from a roaring stone fireplace that dominates one end of a grand hall. The air carries the subtle, comforting scent of pine and wood smoke, mingled with the aroma of rich leather. Above your head, grand antler chandeliers cast a soft, flickering light, their intricate branches holding dozens of oil lamps or candles, illuminating the spacious room. Life within these lodges, even in the heart of the wilderness, was a stark contrast to the cowboy's arduous existence. And the feasts held within these walls were legendary. Imagine a long, polished dining table laden with an abundance of frontier delicacies. The rich, savory aroma of roasted elk or venison would fill the air, a hearty main course. Alongside it, perhaps wild game birds, fresh vegetables from a sheltered garden, and breads baked in a stone oven. And, of course, flowing whiskey, the quintessential drink of the frontier, served in heavy tumblers, its warmth spreading slowly through the system. These were not just meals. They were declarations of wealth and influence, opportunities to entertain important guests, consolidate power, and celebrate success. The sounds would be convivial, the clinking of glasses, the murmur of conversation, perhaps the deep laughter of men who had achieved great things. Beyond the domestic comforts, the Cattle King's Lodge was often a hub of negotiations with miners and other entrepreneurs. The Montana frontier was a dynamic place where cattle empires often overlapped with mining interests. The king might host mining magnates, railroad tycoons, or land speculators, discussing contracts, rights of way, and the future development of the territory. These were quiet battles of wits, where fortunes could be made or lost with a handshake and a few carefully chosen words. The cattle king, with his vast land holdings and economic power, held significant sway in these discussions. The cattle king's role in territorial politics was often profound and far-reaching. These men, with their substantial wealth and influence, were not merely ranchers. They were de facto leaders in a sparsely populated, rapidly developing territory. While the cowboy endured frostbitten fingers and slept in a drafty bunkhouse, the king enjoyed the warmth of a roaring fire, fine food, and comfortable surroundings. The cowboy's daily life was a relentless physical struggle. The king's was a strategic game of economics and politics. This disparity highlights Montana's elite, showcasing the vast chasm between those who toiled on the land and those who commanded its resources from a position of rugged luxury. It's a testament to the powerful allure of the American West, where immense fortunes could be forged, creating lives of opulence, even in the heart of a harsh, untamed land. Allow your mind to gently absorb these images of comfort and command as we contemplate the nuanced layers of life on the Montana frontier. They lobbied for favorable laws, influenced appointments, and often held political offices themselves. Their decisions made within the walls of these lodges affected everything from land use and water rights to the establishment of law enforcement and infrastructure development. They were instrumental in shaping Montana from a wild frontier into a more organized, albeit still rugged, state. This offers a vivid contrast to the cowboy's hardship we explored earlier. As we move from the rugged comforts of the Cattle King's Lodge, let us now delve into a more unsettling yet equally defining aspect of the Montana frontier, the often brutal reality of frontier justice personified by the rise of vigilante groups, particularly the Yellowstone vigilantes in the early 1880s. This period highlights the raw, sometimes violent, means by which order was sought in a land where formal law enforcement was thin on the ground. Imagine a vast, sparsely populated territory where distances were immense and settlements isolated. In this environment, the lines between right and wrong, between victim and aggressor, could become blurred. A man accused, perhaps tied to a tree or led to an impromptu gallows fashioned from a sturdy beam. The air would be thick with tension, the only sounds the rustle of clothing, the creak of rope, and the strained breathing of those assembled. The purpose was clear: to instill fear, to deter further crime, and to restore a brutal semblance of order. The bodies were often left as stark warnings, grim markers on the landscape. The phrase, hanged for horse stealing, or shot for rustling, became a chilling epitaph, a stark testament to the unforgiving nature of frontier justice. The legal system, with its distant courts and limited sheriffs, often struggled to keep pace with the rapid influx of people. Some honest, many opportunistic, and a significant number outright criminal. This vacuum of official authority created a fertile ground for self-appointed groups to emerge, promising to deliver the swift justice that the formal system often could not. The Yellowstone vigilantes, active primarily in the central and eastern parts of Montana Territory, were one such group. Their rise was a direct response to a perceived surge in lawlessness, cattle rustling, horse theft, stagecoach robberies, and outright murder. Picture the frustration and fear among honest ranchers and citizens who saw their livelihoods threatened and their lives endangered. The quiet hum of daily life was often punctuated by tales of banditry and violence, fostering a pervasive sense of insecurity. The actions of these vigilantes were not discreet or subtle. They operated with a stark, often chilling efficiency. Suspected criminals, once apprehended, were rarely given the benefit of a formal trial. Instead, they faced immediate judgment by the vigilante committee, often in hastily convened meetings under the vast open sky or within the confines of a rudimentary cabin. The evidence was often circumstantial, based on reputation or direct accusation. The executions were swift and summary. Imagine the quiet solemnity, yet underlying dread of such an event. While these actions brought a crude form of order, they were undeniably controversial and remain so in historical memory. Many of the vigilantes were respectable citizens, driven by a desperate need for security. It speaks to a deeply ingrained belief among many pioneers that self-reliance and direct action were necessary for survival in a harsh environment. The story of the Yellowstone vigilantes is a testament to the raw, unpolished nature of the frontier, a place where the rule of law was often forged not in courtrooms, but in the unforgiving crucible of necessity. However, the lack of due process, the potential for mistaken identity, personal vendettas, or the settling of scores meant that innocent individuals could, and sometimes did, become victims. The thin line between justice and vengeance was often blurred. This period was a stark, sometimes brutal, chapter in the development of Montana, illuminating the desperate measures sometimes taken to establish social control where formal institutions were weak. As we contemplate these stark realities, let us do so with a calm, detached perspective, acknowledging the harshness of the past without dwelling on explicit details. This segment offers a quiet reflection on the difficult choices faced by those who sought to build a society in the wilderness and the profound, sometimes unsettling ways in which justice was dispensed when the institutions of order were still in their infancy. As the stark images of frontier justice and the challenges of the open range begin to recede, let us now turn our attention to an agent of immense change, a force that would irrevocably alter the very fabric of Montana, connecting its vast, isolated expanses to the rest of the nation: the Great Northern Railway. Its westward push in the late 19th century was not merely an engineering feat. It was a catalyst for unprecedented economic and social transformation. Hill's philosophy was not merely to build a railroad, but to develop the territory it served. He understood that a railroad's success depended on the prosperity of the communities along its route. This meant actively promoting settlement, encouraging agriculture, and facilitating the extraction of Montana's vast natural resources. Imagine the immense scale of the undertaking. Thousands of laborers working through the brutal Montana winters and scorching summers, laying track across mountains, prairies, and rivers. The rhythmic clanging of hammers striking spikes, the hiss of steam locomotives, and the shouts of work crews would have replaced the quiet solitude of the plains in these construction zones. This was a symphony of industrial progress, slowly but surely weaving a still thread across the vastness. The Great Northern Railway, largely the vision of its shrewd and determined president, James J. Hill, was unique among the transcontinental lines. The impact on Montana's economy was immediate and profound. Before the railroad, transporting goods, be it cattle, timber, or minerals, was a slow, arduous, and costly endeavor. Suddenly, Montana's products could reach distant markets in the east with unprecedented speed and efficiency. Imagine the long cattle drives, now replaced by train cars filled with livestock. The copper and silver from Butts mines, once constrained by transport costs, could now be shipped across the country, fueling the nation's industrial growth. Agriculture, too, was revolutionized. Farmers could now reliably ship their wheat and other crops, transforming vast tracts of prairie into productive farmland. The railroad itself also created new jobs and industries, from maintenance crews to station agents to the burgeoning businesses that sprang up around the new rail depots. Beyond the economy, the Great Northern had an equally significant social impact. It facilitated an immense wave of settlement. Prior to the railroad, homesteaders faced immense challenges reaching the interior of Montana. The train offered a quicker, safer, and more affordable passage. Imagine families arriving at newly established towns along the rail lines, carrying their few possessions, their faces alight with hope for a new life. Towns that were once tiny outposts swelled into bustling communities, sometimes almost overnight. It was a place where life was lived on the edge, yet it fostered a unique spirit of resilience and self-reliance. The challenges faced by its inhabitants, the triumphs they achieved, and the quiet mysteries they left behind all contribute to a rich tapestry that continues to fascinate. Ethnic enclaves formed as immigrants from Europe and other parts of the United States sought opportunities in this new frontier. The population of Montana exploded, bringing with it a greater diversity of cultures, skills, and perspectives. Furthermore, the railroad brought the outside world closer. Newspapers, mail, manufactured goods, and even cultural influences flowed into Montana with greater ease. This began the slow process of integrating Montana into the broader American society, breaking down its isolation and diminishing its raw frontier character. The vast, untamed wilderness, once accessible only to the hardiest pioneers, was now being traversed by steel rails and steam engines, opening it up to development and changing its very essence. This period of transformation marked a significant departure from the solitary cowboy lifestyle and the raw vigilante justice that defined earlier eras. While challenges remained, the railroad brought a new sense of order, connectivity, and opportunity. The quiet rumble of a distant train, even now, can evoke a sense of journey and transformation. This segment gently brings us to the close of our historical journey, leaving us with a sense of Montana's evolution from a wild frontier to a land increasingly connected and developed. The landscape, once solely dominated by natural forces, now bore the indelible mark of human ingenuity and ambition on an unprecedented scale. As we contemplate the powerful engine of progress that was the Great Northern Railway, allow your mind to gently consider how technology can reshape entire regions, drawing people together and creating new possibilities. Montana, in the late 19th century, was a crucible of human endurance, ambition, and adaptation. What if your deepest desire wasn't just a betrayal of your spouse, but a sacred insult to the very ancestors who watched over your clan, risking not just your life, but your entire lineage's fortune? Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to the year 800 BCE. The setting is a vast, often deeply structured, complex unit of ancient Chinese society, a Zhou clan. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a wife, one whose days are meticulously ordered by ritual and tradition, yet whose inner world may hold a profound, unsettling secret. You are quietly preparing ancestral offerings meticulously, arranging food and incense, all while subtly hiding forbidden feelings that stir within your heart. The first sensation that might envelop you is the pervasive discomfort of your everyday attire. Your hemp robe scratches against your skin, a constant, subtle irritation, a quiet reminder of the coarse materials of the age. Imagine the rough texture, the slight stiffness as you move through the ancestral halls, performing your duties. This minor physical discomfort is a quiet mirror to the larger internal tension you carry. The dominant sounds would be the soft swish of ropes as people move with quiet purpose, and the gentle clink of ceramic vessels as offerings are placed. Your daily sustenance, though vital, offers little variety or pleasure. Your diet consists primarily of barley, a staple grain that provides basic sustenance but little else. Imagine the earthy flavor, the simple chewiness, the quiet act of consuming a meal designed purely for practicality. There would be little of the rich, varied fare reserved for grand feasts. Only the quiet understanding that this humble food provides the minimal energy needed to endure another long day of ritual and duty. But beyond these physical and emotional strains, there is a pervasive and profound societal dimension that dictates your very existence. Clan elders judge you. Imagine the subtle weight of their gazes, the unspoken expectations and their quiet observations as you go about your tasks. Every action, every gesture might be scrutinized, interpreted, or even subtly condemned by the powerful figures who uphold the clan's strict moral and ritual order. The air would feel heavy with unspoken expectation, a quiet pressure that underlines every interaction. This segment immerses you in the sensory grind of being a Zhou clan wife. You observe the smoky altars, the constant presence of burning incense, and ritual fires, lending a mystical, almost ethereal quality to the sacred spaces. The subtle scent of wood smoke and reverence would pervade the air. The sounds would include the resonant, deep tones of bronze bells, struck at precise moments during rituals, their echoes reverberating through the ancestral hall, signifying moments of profound spiritual connection and strict adherence to form. And beneath all this, a pervasive, quiet tension, the fear of being cast out for infidelity. Imagine the quiet dread of having your hidden feelings discovered, knowing that such a transgression could lead to public humiliation, banishment from your family, and a life utterly without social standing or protection. This fear was not of personal anger, but of systemic retribution, a quiet shadow that hung over every private thought and subtle glance ought to exist in such a state. To navigate daily life within this confined, demanding, and ideologically charged institution required immense, quiet discipline. It demanded a deep, often unspoken, understanding of both ritual purity and profound social consequence, a quiet resilience in the face of constant physical discomfort and moral scrutiny, and a quiet, almost meditative acceptance of limitations beyond your personal control. The rhythm of your days would be a constant, subtle negotiation of duty, conscience, and the deep, almost primal connection to the few moments of true emotional respite or shared humanity that sustained your very spirit. From the strict order of the Zhou clan household and the hidden tensions within a wife's heart, let us now gently descend deeper into the realm of forbidden's desires, the forbidden's loves of the clan, in a society meticulously structured by ritual and kinship. The transgression of personal bonds carried immense social and spiritual weight, turning private feelings into profound public dangers. This segment invites you to observe the subtle risks, the quiet communications, and the severe consequences that define clandestine affections in ancient Zhou China. Imagine the subtle interactions within the clan's daily routines. You might share glances during rituals, a fleeting connection across a crowded ancestral hall, a silent acknowledgement of a shared, unspeakable feeling. Imagine the quiet intensity of these moments, the brief meeting of eyes amidst the solemnity of offerings, the subtle shift in focus from sacred duty to a hidden desire. The sounds would be hushed, perhaps the steady rhythm of a ritual chant, punctuated by the soft rustle of robes and the quiet beat of your own heart. However, the weight of the clan's moral code was omnipresent. Zhou's strict kinship rules punished adultery with exile or death. Imagine the ancient texts, the pronouncements of the elders, echoing through the generations, clearly defining the severe penalties for such transgressions. The societal understanding was clear. A breach of fidelity threatened the lineage, dishonored the ancestors, and disrupted the cosmic harmony that the Zhou believed underpinned their rule. The knowledge of these punishments hung like a silent, heavy cloud over any burgeoning illicit affection. Yet, despite these dire consequences, human emotions sometimes defied even the strictest societal boundaries. Tales of such forbidden love speak of secret meetings by wells, a common and often solitary gathering place in ancient villages. Imagine the quiet approach under the cover of dusk or the early morning mist, the hushed voices, the fleeting touches, the subtle splash of water as a bucket is lowered. The well, the source of life, paradoxically became a clandestine sanctuary for forbidden's connection. The sense of damp earth and cool, fresh water would surround these furtive encounters. Sometimes, a quiet, symbolic exchange might solidify a hidden bond. Imagine bronze token exchanges, small, intricately crafted pieces, perhaps halves of a larger token, meant to signify a secret pact or promise. The gentle clink of the bronze, the smooth, cool feel of the metal in your palm, would represent the profound, unspoken commitment. These were not just objects. They were silent witnesses to a dangerous affection, carried close to the heart as both a comfort and a constant risk. But always, the greatest dread was the dread of ancestral spirits cursing your betrayal. In Zhou's society, ancestors were not distant figures. They were active participants in the lives of the living, their favor essential for prosperity, their displeasure bringing misfortune. Imagine the quiet anxiety that would accompany every secret act, the fear that the spirits of your forefathers, watching from the ancestral halls, would witness your transgression and bring a quiet, devastating curse upon your family, your lineage, and your very crops. This was a fear far deeper than mere human punishment, reaching into the spiritual fabric of existence, to engage in such forbidden loves. To navigate such profound risks required immense, quiet courage, or perhaps a profound desperation. It demanded a constant awareness of omnipresent danger, a subtle negotiation of desire with destiny, and a quiet, almost desperate, hope that the secret could be kept. The gentle whisper of wind through reeds, the distant sounds of daily life, and the pervasive, quiet dread of ancestral displeasure. These are the calming echoes of profound human passions and the heavy weight of ancient societal norms, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet battles waged between the heart and the strictures of a structured world. From the universal tension of forbidden love within the strictures of the Zhou clan, let us now gently turn our thoughts to a more personal narrative, one that illustrates the profound cost of defying ancient traditions. We consider the fictional, yet representative story of Lady Ji and the warrior bow, whose hidden affection became a quiet tragedy, echoing the severe consequences for those who broke the rigid societal norms of their age. This narrative traces their forbidden love, its inevitable discovery, and the solemn punishment that followed, told in a soothing tone that captures the quiet sorrow of defiance. Imagine Lady Ji, a noblewoman within a prominent Zhou clan, living a life meticulously defined by duty and expectation. Her days would involve overseeing household affairs, participating in ancestral rites, and maintaining the honor of her family name. Her world was one of elegant silence and prescribed rules. Into this ordered existence, a forbidden connection quietly began to form with Bio, a warrior in the clan's service. He might have been a man of quiet strength, his presence a subtle contrast to the formality of her daily life. Imagine the clandestine glances exchanged during formal gatherings, the hurried whispers in shadowed courtyards, the profound unspoken understanding that developed between them. The sounds would be hushed, the distant clatter of a warrior's training, or the soft rustle of her silk garments as she moved with quiet grace, carrying her secret close. Their forbidden love, though cherished in secret, was a direct challenge to the very foundation of Zhou society. Adultery, particularly within the elite, was not merely a personal failing, but a profound dishonor to the clan's ancestors and a disruption of the cosmic order. Believed to underpin the dynasty's power, it threatened lineage purity and weakened the clan's standing. Imagine the pervasive, quiet dread that must have accompanied their every shared moment, the chilling awareness that discovery would bring not just personal ruin, but collective shame upon their families. The inevitable discovery of their affair would have unfolded with a quiet yet devastating swiftness. Perhaps a servant, observing a suspicious glance, might have carried a whispered rumor to the clan elders, or a careless token might have been found. Imagine the cold, piercing gaze of the clan patriarch, the solemn assembly in the ancestral hall, the air thick with unspoken accusations and profound disappointment. The sounds might be the chilling thud of a heavy wooden door closing, sealing their fate, or the low, mournful tone of a bronze bell, marking the solemn pronouncement of judgment. There would be no dramatic outcry, but a pervasive, heavy silence. The punishment for Lady G, though perhaps not a physical one in the graphic sense, would have been a profound social and spiritual death. She would likely face severe public humiliation, stripping her of her status and honor. She might have been banished from the clan, sent to live in quiet isolation, her name removed from the ancestral tablets, a fate considered worse than physical demise. Imagine her slow, deliberate walk out of the ancestral halls, leaving behind all she knew, entering a world of solitary existence and perpetual shame. For Beo, the warrior, the consequences could have been equally severe, perhaps exile, or even a quiet, swift execution, his name erased from clan memory. The sounds associated with her punishment would be quiet yet final, the soft creak of a distant cart carrying her away, or the mournful cry of a lone bird, echoing the solitude of her new existence. This narrative, though a fictional exploration, offers a meditative contemplation on the profound human cost of defying the rigid traditions of ancient Zhou China. The gentle drip of water from eaves, the faint sigh of wind through empty halls, and the profound, quiet sorrow of a love that defied its time. These are the calming echoes of deep societal values and the enduring human struggle against strictures, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet tragedies woven into the fabric of ancient history. From the quiet tragedy of Forbidden's love and its human cost within the Zhou clan, let us now gently shift our focus to a more enigmatic aspect of their cultural and spiritual lives, the mystery of the Zhou ritual jades. These meticulously carved stones, often discovered buried in ancient sites, offer a profound yet silent glimpse into the clan's beliefs about love, fate, and the unseen forces that governed their world. This segment invites you on a soothing journey into the relics of ancient passion, exploring the subtle clues left behind by long-vanished ceremonies. Imagine an archaeologist, centuries later, carefully excavating the remains of a Zhou clan home or burial site. The quiet brush of a soft tool removing centuries of accumulated earth, the methodical uncovering of fragile relics, might reveal something truly exquisite. A piece of carved jade, its smooth, cool surface still holding the quiet luminescence of antiquity. This leads us to the quiet question: why were jade amulets buried in Zhou clan homes? The very presence of jade in such intimate domestic and funerary contexts sparks a quiet curiosity. Jade was not merely a precious material. It was imbued with profound spiritual significance in ancient China, associated with purity, immortality, and connection to the heavens. Imagine the painstaking craftsmanship that went into shaping each piece, the quiet dedication of the artisan, the subtle variations in its green hues, the cool, weighty feel of the stone in your imagined hand, would speak of its enduring power. Within collections of such archaeological finds, you might encounter various forms of these ritual jades. Some could be elaborate carved jades, perhaps in the form of dragons, cicadas, or by discs, symbols with deep cosmological meanings intended to connect the living with the ancestral spirits. Imagine the intricate details, the almost imperceptible lines etched into the heartstone, each stroke a deliberate act of devotion. Other finds might include ritual vessels made of bronze or ceramic, often decorated with patterns that echo the symbolism found on the jades, suggesting their use in offerings or ceremonies within the home. The subtle clink of a jade piece against a bronze vessel or the smooth feel of a ceramic pot would be the sounds of these ancient, sacred tools. These artifacts prompt profound theories about their use in love curses or atonement. Were some jades used in rituals to bind lovers together, perhaps in a quiet attempt to influence fate? Or, conversely, were they employed in love curses, not to harm, but perhaps to sever illicit bonds or to bring a transgressor to justice? Through spiritual means, the idea of atonement also emerges. Perhaps certain jades were buried as offerings, a quiet plea to appease offended ancestral spirits, or to seek forgiveness for a breach of ritual order, like an act of infidelity. Imagine the quiet desperation or fervent hope that might have accompanied the burial of such an object, a silent prayer made to the unseen realm. The very ambiguity of their purpose makes them all the more intriguing, a quiet mystery waiting to be fully deciphered. The lives of these ancient Zhou clans, though meticulously ordered, were also touched by human emotion and spiritual belief, which found tangible expression in these exquisite, enduring stones. The gentle brush of an archaeologist uncovering a hidden relic, the smooth, cool touch of an ancient jade, and the profound, silent questions whispered by these beautiful artifacts. These are the calming echoes of deep spiritual practices, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet power of human belief and the enduring mysteries of the ancient world. From the enigmatic ritual jades that hint at private passions and spiritual atonement, let us now gently shift our focus to a contrasting and perhaps more outwardly austere perspective, the life of a Zhou clan leader. While the clan wife navigated, hidden emotions and strictures, and the forbidden lovers faced dire consequences, the leader operated at the pinnacle of clan power, tasked with upholding the rigid ritual order and protecting the clan's honor. This segment invites you to explore the revered, yet deeply rigid and often precarious, world of Zhou's patriarchal elite, from their ceremonial duties to the constant pressures of maintaining family reputation and asserting dominance amidst rival clans. Imagine yourself not hiding forbidden's feelings, but seated on a raised dais within the quiet solemnity of a grand wooden hall, the heart of the clan's authority. The air here would feel different, perhaps carrying the subtle scent of aged wood, the faint aroma of incense from a distant altar, and the pervasive quiet of disciplined order. The sounds would be precise and measured, the soft thump of a wooden block signifying the start or end of a pronouncement, the gentle rustle of heavy silk robes as you move with ceremonial grace, and the low, steady murmur of respectful attention from those gathered before you. Your days as a clan leader would be filled with a different kind of intensity. Your primary role involves preserving the clan's ancestral legacy and its social standing. You would spend hours meticulously overseeing rituals, from ancestral sacrifices to ceremonies marking important life events. Imagine the precise movements, the formal pronouncements, the deep spiritual focus required to ensure every detail adhered to tradition. These rituals were not merely symbolic. They were believed to maintain cosmic harmony, ensuring prosperity for the clan and favor from the ancestors. The very act of performing them was a demonstration of your authority and piety. Life as a clan leader, though filled with responsibility, also offered a degree of material comfort and social esteem. You might dine on millet, a staple grain, but perhaps accompanied by richer foods, carefully prepared meats, or fermented beverages reserved for the elite. Imagine the quiet, measured enjoyment of such a meal, a brief respite from the constant demands of leadership. These comforts, however, came with their own set of profound pressures. Indeed, despite these privileges, the realities of maintaining clan order presented constant challenges. Family dishonor was a subtle, yet potentially devastating, threat to your authority and the clan's prestige. Imagine receiving reports of a member's transgression, a breach of ritual, or, most gravely, an act of infidelity that could bring shame upon the entire lineage. The quiet dread of such news, the internal struggle to decide upon appropriate punishment to cleanse the stain, would be immense. A failure to address dishonor decisively could weaken your own position and invite scorn. from other clans. Furthermore, the pervasive threat of rival clans constantly loomed, threatening your authority. Imagine the subtle political maneuvering, the careful alliances, the quiet intelligence gathering regarding the movements and intentions of neighboring clans. Disputes over land, resources, or ancestral claims were common. The knowledge that a wrong decision could lead to conflict, or even the diminishment of your clan's power, was a persistent, unspoken burden. Your leadership was a delicate balance of ceremonial precision, moral enforcement, and shrewd political strategy to ensure your clan's survival and continued prosperity in a competitive world. This segment explores the complex, often solitary, world of the Zhou clan leader, a life revered for its adherence to tradition, yet profoundly burdened by the immense responsibilities of maintaining ritual order, enforcing moral purity, and navigating the intricate web of interclan politics. From the soft thump of a ceremonial block and the rustle of noble silks to the profound, silent weight of potential dishonor and external threats, these are the calming echoes of a unique leadership experience, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the intricate web of power, tradition, and social survival within ancient Zhou China. From the intricate world of clan leaders and their constant vigilance against dishonor, let us now gently shift our focus to the overarching societal values that permeated every aspect of Zhou Dynasty life, the profound weight of ancestors, and the critical importance of ritual purity. In a society where the living were inextricably linked to the dead, moral transgressions, especially adultery, were not merely private failings, but deeply unsettling ruptures in the cosmic and social order, demanding a visible purging. This segment invites you to contemplate the mechanisms of public shame and the enduring belief that purity was a bedrock of societal well-being. Imagine the pervasive understanding within a Zhou clan that the actions of an individual directly reflected upon the entire lineage, stretching back through generations. The clan's reputation was its most valuable asset, a delicate fabric woven from adherence to ritual, moral uprightness, and ancestral favor. This leads us to the quiet question: how did moral transgressions profoundly impact the clan's standing with ancestors and other clans? An act like adultery cast a long, cold shadow, threatening not only the living members, but also, crucially, the prosperity and favor believed to be bestowed by the ancestral spirits. When such a transgression came to light, the response was often public and deeply symbolic. Public shaming was a powerful mechanism of social control, designed to reassert the moral order and cleanse the perceived impurity. Imagine a solemn gathering in a central courtyard, not with shouts or fury, but with a palpable, heavy silence. The sounds might be only the soft sigh of a hushed crowd, the quiet movement of elders, and the chilling silence from the accused, stripped of their usual social standing. The physical display of disgrace, though not violent, was profound, perhaps a public denouncement, a forced confession, or a ritualistic act of ostracism that separated the individual from the communal body. The concept of ritual purity was not just an abstract idea. It was a societal bedrock, believed to be essential for the clan's continued harmony and prosperity. Any breach of moral codes, particularly those related to family and lineage, was seen as an impurity that could offend the ancestors, leading to misfortune, poor harvests, or even military defeat. Imagine the quiet, deep-seated fear that such a transgression might bring about a devastating curse, not just on the individuals involved, but on the entire clan. The constant effort to maintain this purity permeated daily life, from meticulous ritual adherence to strict moral policing to cleanse the clan of such a stain. Atonement was often sought through ritual means, sometimes involving the very ritual. Jades we discussed earlier, or formal pronouncements to the ancestors. For the individual, the experience of being subjected to this public shame and the process of atonement was a profound form of suffering. Imagine the quiet agony of being shunned, the psychological weight of knowing you had brought dishonor upon your lineage. The social ostracism might have been complete, the person effectively becoming a non-entity within the very community that once defined their existence. The soft creak of an old gate gently closing behind a banished individual would symbolize their final separation. This segment explores the profound, quiet power of societal values in ancient Zhou China, where the actions of one individual could send ripples of consequence through an entire clan and into the spiritual realm of the ancestors. The subtle sigh of a hushed crowd, the cold silence of communal disapproval, and the pervasive, quiet dread of ancestral displeasure. These are the calming echoes of deeply rooted beliefs and the intricate societal mechanisms used to maintain order, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet strength of ancient traditions and their enduring impact on human lives. So I've witnessed the profound complexities that define this era, its strict ritual order, and its enduring human passions, its deep ancestral reverence, and its harsh societal consequences, its visible structures and its hidden emotional landscapes. It is a world both ancient and deeply resonant, a testament to the intricate and often challenging nature of human connection and societal control within a tightly structured historical tapestry dot as the echoes of these quiet yet deeply evocative tales gently recede into the stillness of the past. Allow your mind to drift back to the comfort and tranquility of your own space, your own time. The sounds of ancient bells have quieted. The rustle of coarse robes has faded. The journey through this fascinating age is complete. May your rest be deep and your dreams peaceful. Good night.